African women living in Africa generally do not accept or like the idea of 50-50 in a relationship or marriage, whereas Western women are more open and accepting to the idea. And that is because 50-50 in the Western context is quite different from 50-50 in the African context. Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. It's Uzi here again, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between 50-50 in Africa and 50-50 in the Western world. Generally, the idea of 50-50 is simply splitting bills equally between both partners, but then there's a little twist to it. Now, in the Western world, 50-50 is not just for the financial aspect. It is both for the financial aspect and every other thing that has to do with a relationship or marriage. So the man pays the rent, the woman pays other bills, or they both join hands together and contribute for the rent, contribute for the light bill, contribute for the water bill. And when it comes to house chores, the man is also fully involved in house chores. He will wash the dishes today, the lady will wash the dishes tomorrow, but they literally split every single thing. It's not just the finances. Whereas in the African setting, 50-50 is simply bills. You hardly see an African couple who is claiming they're doing 50-50 that is doing it besides bills, because a lot of African men will tell you, a traditional African man, I cannot wash the dishes, I cannot change the diaper, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't wash the clothes, I can't. So they already have this mindset of they are traditional African men and therefore they do not do domestic chores. But when they present the idea of 50-50 and the woman accepts, that simply means that the woman is accepting to be splitting bills with the man. But when it comes to household chores, my dear, the chances of getting the man to involve in it is usually very slim. But whenever they move to the Western world, you see that it actually kind of works out for them in the Western world, but not in Africa. In Africa, an African man will claim to be a traditional man. When he goes to the Western world and he realizes, okay, the Western world is quite different, then some of them decide to say, okay, I can actually wash the dishes. It's still not all African men that go to the Western world that decide to do domestic chores. Some of them take their character from Africa over to the Western world. And so from the two scenarios, you can understand why an African woman will choose not to do 50-50 and why a Western woman might be more open to doing 50-50. But to be realistic, 50-50 is never really 50-50, even if the man decides to do the domestic chores with you, because there's one thing that is still not being splitted, which is childbirth. And childbirth really is something that can literally take the life of a woman. So the risk and of the 9 months pregnancy, the labor and everything, how do they split that one? That is why I believe 50-50 is never really 50-50, because the woman will always give more no matter what. That is exactly why I don't really blame Western women who want to accept 50-50. Neither will I blame African women who say no, they do not want to accept 50-50. But don't get me wrong, there are African women that do practice 50-50, and there are Western women that are adamant that they will never accept 50-50. So it is not like a general rule of thumb that every single African woman is against 50-50. But then many, at least a lot of African women that I know don't really like the idea of 50-50. But that doesn't mean that women don't unknowingly do this, because you see homes where the woman is even doing 100, because there are African families where the woman is the breadwinner, but it wasn't mandated. That's the thing. In Africa, communication of all these financial things is not really something that a lot of people are comfortable with. So sometimes the woman will just find herself doing 50-50 without even knowing it. So they're not even discussing about it. Let's say the man lost his job, the woman finds herself taking care of the home. And then sometimes if the man is kind enough and he's a man that actually cares about the family and he's hardworking, but it's just that things are not going well for him, he might decide to assist. But then how many African men assist when they lose their job or their business goes wrong and things like that? And besides that, there are also women that assist without the man knowing. Like, let's assume a man is earning a meager amount of salary, but the wife is also doing business. And the man brings his salary and gives it to the wife. But unfortunately, they have like four kids, and that his salary is not enough, the woman still has to add her own money. But in this case, I think it's actually the best case scenario because the woman is not being mandated to do it. Sometimes the man might just plead and say, my salary is not enough, and he'll be looking for better jobs that have better pay or looking for a business. But a man who actually cares like that, the wife wouldn't be bothered. A lot of African women are not bothered doing 50-50 with such men because they know that if he had, they wouldn't even need to contribute their own money to the family well-being. And eventually, when these men find better jobs, they say, no, don't worry, your money is your money. Hold it, I'm doing better now. The interesting part about all this is 50-50 actually goes against African culture in general. At least majority of African culture actually believe the man is to fully provide while the wife does other household duties, and gender roles are really well defined in the African culture. And if a man were to be seen washing plates and doing a lot of these things, a lot of Africans till this day will actually raise an eyebrow and they'll start accusing the wife of maltreating the husband, not respecting him. And same goes to men who are not able to provide. A lot of women who are practicing that thing, that 50-50 in Africa, people don't really know that they are the ones footing the bills or they contribute to the bills because it is seen as a thing of shame that a man cannot provide for his family. It's like it wounds their pride. I don't know if you get what I mean, but I'm just saying this is the difference between Africa and the Western world when it comes to 50-50. Because I noticed in the Western world, at least from things I've observed and seen from the kinds of videos they make, I've noticed that the man is not really ashamed to say, okay, me and my wife, we are sharing bills. They're not really ashamed about it. Nobody is insulting them or seeing them as less of a man because he is not able to fully provide for his family. And nobody is also looking down on men who wash plate, change diapers, and do all those things. Whereas in Africa, it's totally different. Even if the man and woman are practicing 50-50, they will be hiding it from even their family members because the mother-in-law or the sister-in-law or family members were to come and observe it. If it is not a family that is well exposed, they'll start accusing, either they accuse the man of he's not providing, he's a shameless man, or they accuse the woman of being disrespectful. How can she be there? Her husband is doing all these things. And another thing to also put into consideration is the fact that cost of living in the Western world and access to some certain things are not the same. Allowance in the Western world to get a nanny is quite expensive, whereas in Africa, to get someone to be a nanny to your kids is not all that hard. Sometimes just get your family members. Sometimes some people get kids that are from poor homes. These things are not really well regulated in Africa here. Basically, what I'm saying is that to get help in Africa is not that hard, it's not expensive, whereas in the Western world, it is really expensive. So somehow the couple need to find a way to get things done, and that 50-50 is now what a lot of them have settled on. So even couples that are indirectly practicing 50-50, even though they don't even know the meaning, because a lot of Africans don't even know the meaning of 50, but there are lots of them actually practicing it. Even though they are practicing it, a lot of them hide it. The woman will foot the bills and say, oh, it's my husband that did it. The woman will be protecting the man. There's so much protection on the African man so that he won't be seen as less of a man. So that is just about it, about the difference between African 50-50 and Western 50-50. What do you think about 50-50 generally? Do you like the African style or you prefer your Western style? And why do you like it? And if you don't like it, why don't you like it? But me personally, I don't like it, except the man's business is not moving well and I just have to assist. And it's not something that I will have to assist forever. Maybe the man will not be lazy about it. As long as I see the man's effort, I don't see the problem. As long as I'm not being mandated, like it's a must, you must do it. Like you're starting the marriage, I say you must bring out your 50-50, even when the man has the money. Because I draw the line at where the man has the money. If the man has the money to comfortably pay 100% and he's mandating 50-50, I don't think there's any form of love in that relationship, whether you are a Western woman or African woman. I think 50-50 is for situations where the man is not all that capable. The economic situation is not favorable and one person's income cannot really sustain the home. But if the man has it and he say, my dear, you must do 50-50. That's a red flag. Okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Bye for now.